Hi ladies. You've probably seen me write and maybe in some videos talk about my story and kind of what led me to more health coaching. You also probably know me as the hardcore trainer, the fitness competitor that would get shredded and jump on stage, went to the national level, and then suddenly just stopped and totally changed. Now, to some, this might even be a little confusing. To me, I've never felt so much clarity and purpose and fulfillment now more than before. And I have a really strong health and fitness background. I've been doing it for over 27 years now. I obviously have an extreme passion for it because the longevity in this industry is quite short. And you've probably even noticed all of a sudden this huge expansion on all these health professionals that are coming out of the woodwork. And I'm kind of fighting in this weird transition of hoping people will want to honor their bodies, will want to honor their spirit, their soul, their mind, beyond just a diet and a look. So I was talking with a client yesterday who I met for coffee, who has known me a very long time, and she's also been very confused kind of about my transition because I haven't really fully explained my story, little bits here and there. So I'm here to kind of break it down for you, and hopefully you will kind of have a better understanding of why I'm doing what I do and what it is that I do. So as you know, I've been a competitor for, or was a competitor for about 11 years or so. And I think I've done about 12 or 13 competitions in total. Now before that, I was in the industry because competing is just a small chunk of the fitness industry. The fitness industry is not competing, and I want to make that clear. It is not competing. Don't let anyone tell you any different. It is part of fitness because fitness isn't about restriction. It isn't about feeling deprived or having to almost sell yourself to the devil to get a look. It is a sport. It's an extreme sport. And that being said, it's not for everybody. I have nothing against it because competing didn't put me in a bad place. I put me in a bad place. So I want to get that straight now before anyone jumps on me and starts criticizing. So when I started competing, it was more for a challenge. And I could go into a huge background of, you know, where I came from and, you know, how I felt for most of my life. But to put it simply, I've never really had that much self-confidence or self-worth. I never really felt like I fit in anywhere. And when it came to fitness, I finally found like I fit in, but yet still not, because I'm not coming from a background of university. I'm coming from just me working my butt off and making sure I stayed relevant in an industry that is surrounded by people with degrees or people who pretend to be something that they're not. So I let that get to me. No one made me feel that way but me. And on top of that, I wasn't coming from a place of self-worth to begin with. So when competing was introduced to me, and I've never really felt happy or fulfilled, and that's kind of why I've been chasing happiness my whole life. I've chased it in different jobs. I've chased it in trying, you know, in men. I've chased it in other people. I've chased it in other cities. So I thought it would be just something that would maybe make me feel better about myself and give me more confidence, which is that's the one thing it did do, is give me a lot more confidence, because I was never able to stand in front of a large group of people my whole life. Even as a kid, speeches, I hated public speaking. And it scared the hell out of me to the point where my teacher would make me turn and face the blackboard, which actually I think made me feel worse. But anyway, so I started competing, and I actually did amazing. My first show was Fame, and I did really good for my first one, and then I just kept going. And I actually started getting worse and worse when it came to how I felt about myself, because once I came off a competition and so used to seeing this skinny, lean body, and then you put on some weight and you start, it's body dysmorphia. You see yourself very different than others see you. It started creating binge eating for me because I was so restricted with my food, which I hadn't been in the past. I started being afraid of foods. With competing, I, really became a hermit and stopped socializing as much. Not at first, but as the years went on, it did. And after each competition, the harder it was for me to get back into that shape. I tried to do 3 shows in a row once, and that it wasn't good in the sense of how I looked or felt. Didn't do well the third one. And so then you just have this diet mentality that you need to diet and restrict to get to where you need to be. And my last competition, I knew that this had to be my last one. I cried for days about it. I cried for days about the fact of what you need to do to actually get on that national stage. I'm not going to get into that, but I refuse to go full in a lot of ways, and I don't mean that in effort or work. And I just knew this wasn't for me. It wasn't for me because I really believe in women empowerment. I believe in women becoming the best versions of themselves. I believe that we need to love ourselves and our bodies. And I just thought I'd be so lying to myself and everyone else if I continue to do this. And I truly, as a coach, want to come from a place of integrity and authenticity. That's important to me. So that being said, I went into that last competition, and the last 3 I did, I had to go really extreme. My calories were cut extremely low because I wasn't changing. So the restriction over the years and the up and down in weight and the constant beating up on my body was getting to me. So I was at the point for about 3 years straight, or maybe more, because I think I tuned myself out. My body was in constant pain, and I don't mean just joints. My hands are still messed up. My thumbs are still messed up. I'm still working on correcting that. My right hip is still messed up, but it's all 1,000 times better than it was. But my muscles would ache. My body ached. I had terrible gut issues to the point where even at my leanest, my gut was just bloated, and I couldn't even pull my stomach in because it actually hurt. My hormones were a mess for years. And sorry for the guys that are watching this, but this is the truth. This is just coming from, we're women. This is what we go through. So if you want to go kind of fast forward through this, you can. But my hormones were so bad that even at my age, so I would say it started around 45 or so, it wasn't normal. It just wasn't normal. My periods would last sometimes 14 days, and so heavy that I couldn't leave the house, because if I did, I would embarrass myself. I couldn't. There was nothing that could save me from what was happening in my body. I had cramps so bad, and I've had cramps my whole life, but these were beyond anything that any human being should have to endure. I had to go on prescription painkillers for it. I had no energy whatsoever. Like, when I say no energy, I mean I just wasn't tired from not getting sleep, because I know the difference now. I had no energy I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even hold a conversation with people. I was paranoid. I was moody. I was angry. I was frustrated. I felt like I had no purpose in life. I felt like I was just, I just felt like life was, you know, I guess handing me a raw deal. And I felt sorry for myself. I was in self-pity and wasn't taking ownership to the bullshit that I was doing to myself. And then I guess when I got closer to my competition and going towards the end, I remember there was probably a good 3 weeks where I didn't sleep more than 2 hours a night. I called it prepsomnia because of the lack of food I was giving myself, the lack of nutrients. I was in a really bad place, really bad place. Finally, I thought enough is enough. I tried to get somebody to help me during my prep, but I was in such a bad place and still prepping and still like my body didn't even like supplements. It didn't want anything. It was shutting down on me. I just didn't listen to it over the years. I've had a lot of loss in my life in the last, I'd say 6-7 years. You know, it started with, you know, losing some family members. The biggest being losing my dad very suddenly, then losing some more family members, then my mom getting really sick, was told she had 3 months to live. Now she's thriving, and one of my true inspirations in life because her positivity, humor, and outlook on life is, I think, what saved her. And then I lost a close friend, and I think I let those things, you know, well, it's going to, I shouldn't say let, because it's going to. It's probably emotional stress is the hardest thing that can happen to your body. And when you're in that state, you have to be gentle with yourself. And it's okay to have to take a step back in your workouts, because sometimes that's needed. That extra physical stress, especially if you are like that whole beast mode bullshit, is going to cause more stress, and it's going to cause a really crappy outcome for you in the long run. Trust me. So once I was done my competition, sure enough, I blew up. And this is me not, you know, I really watched what I ate. But in all honesty, I got myself up to like just 1,400 calories and my body was blowing up. I was so frustrated. I was angry, and not at anyone else this time. I wasn't blaming life. I wasn't blaming anything. I was finally owning my own crap and saying, okay, enough is enough. You deserve better than this. You deserve to be, you know, around people that mean something to you, who love you. And that's when I started reconnecting with old friends who have never let me down, even when I probably let them down. My family, and I moved closer to that, and it was one of the best things I could have done. But in amongst that, so especially in the last 2 years, I not only took what I've learned over the years, and I am one of those trainers, trust me, if you look at everything that I've done, all the courses and certifications, I really keep on top of industry trends. I try to always constantly be educating myself, but this time I was doing it for the right reasons. So I went back to school for almost a year to become a health coach, to first fix myself and then be able to better help my clients. Because if I'm not fixed, I can't help my clients if I'm in a bad state. And I'm not saying this to be terrible, but there's a lot of trainers out there that have the restriction beast mode mentality, and they're not in a good place, and then they're coaching clients and ruining them as well. And people can get mad at me for saying it, but I think I've earned a right, being that this is my industry. I've been doing this for longer than some people have been alive that are in it. And I really love what I do, and I care about people. I care about what people do to people, and so I'm a little bit over it. So if you're offended by this, then that means that you need to change. And that's the end of that story. So I would say I guess it was in December. I'm trying to think. Sorry for the pause. I would say December, right after I finished competing, I went to a hormone specialist. I got my blood fully tested. I even had to pay for some tests. That's how extensive it was. To find out that I was barely producing any DHEA. My testosterone, that being said, because DHEA controls your sex hormones as well, and all involved in your adrenals. My cortisol was actually considered normal, but that's, that can change daily, so that's hard to say. But my testosterone was tanked, my progesterone was tanked, which made sense. My growth hormone was low, my iron was low, and that makes sense from having 14-day periods for longer than I want to say that I stayed like that. And my estrogen was actually normal. And this is where the industry has gone crazy too, is yes, your body can have high amounts of bad estrogen, like free-floating estrogen that's caused from plastics and environmental issues. But for the most part, for most women, our estrogen is actually at a normal level. We become estrogen dominant when our progesterone gets too low. That doesn't mean we need to lower our estrogen, because that's just going to keep lowering our progesterone as well. So we have to get our progesterone back up to a normal level to create a balance between estrogen and progesterone. So trying to tank your estrogen, which is kind of what I was always told I had to do, I think made me worse. Well, I know it made me worse. So I actually went on hormones. I went on DHEA. I went on a low dose of testosterone, and I went on progesterone. Now, if it's up to most doctors, they will keep you on that crap for the rest of your life. And I wanted to support my body naturally, but I was so far gone that I needed some help. This is where I think differently. I am never going to bullshit you and say that you should completely go natural and screw all allopathic medicine, because I believe that both are needed at some point in time in your life, and I needed it then. I needed it. And so what I decided to do is I took a round, and when I was coming to the end of it, I started weaning myself off. So I just started lowering the dose and just spreading it out, and weaned myself off and supported myself naturally in many ways. I had to really start from scratch, so that means I put on weight, and I put on a lot of weight. I got up to my heaviest, which was about 20 pounds over where I sit normally, or should sit normally after a competition. And I felt terrible. I couldn't think straight. I would actually have to stop. I felt confused a lot. I didn't have the energy to run a business, which I was trying to do, so it was failing me miserably. I couldn't sustain healthy relationships with anybody, never mind myself. And I was constantly in bad relationships with men because of searching for something I don't even know. And I was in my energy, this lack of self-worth, attracted a certain type of man to me, and it never worked. And that's why it never worked, because who I am, that doesn't change. My core is always going to be the same, and that core instinct eventually comes out in these relationships, and they never work. So not only did I start working on my health in the sense of supporting my body naturally, getting my hormones back to normal, I also supported myself spiritually. I firmly believe we need to believe in something greater than ourselves, and whatever that is going to be different for everybody. I also firmly believe that creating a positive mindset and working on that is going to create whatever it is that I need. And emotionally, I had to do the same. So I realized that I was the common denominator in everything and why I kept ending up in the same spot and never changing or flourishing or never feeling fulfilled was my fault, no one else's fault, and I took ownership on that. So, fast forward, oh my goodness. I guess it's like a year and a half later. I now have, even in a night where I don't get a lot of sleep, and that can come for different reasons, but I really try to honor my sleep. But even in the nights that I don't get a lot of sleep, I sleep soundly. And even if I'm tired during the day, I always have energy. And that is the difference. Whereas before, I was lethargic. I had nothing in my tank. And now I have a ton in my tank, even when I'm a little tired, a little sleepy from lack of sleep. I have the most clarity I've had in more years than I can remember. I don't even remember when I did have this much clarity, where I feel comfortable in my own skin. I look in the mirror, I thank my body every day for not giving up on me. Because it could have. It could have very well. And instead of fully giving up, it just kind of sent me a little love note and gave me a kick in the ass and said, Carmen, I want to help you, and I want to have you fulfilled and flourishing. This is a sign. Please, this time, feel it and honor it. And if you do that, I got your back and I'll support you. So now my hormones are totally balanced. I have normal periods on time, 6 days. They're lighter. I have no issues, hardly any cramps. The cramps I do have, I can handle, whereas before I couldn't. I would actually throw up and almost pass out from pain. I am okay to go out during my periods. I feel free. I feel a sense of freedom and lightness. I have no bloating or digestive issues, and when I do, I listen to my body. I think about what I've been doing and I change it. I am not on a diet. Now, some people might not believe me when I say this, but I do not follow a diet. I don't measure anything. I don't count calories. But I've taught myself to know how much is enough, what I need, what I don't need, and I listen to it. And I'm actually I keep losing weight. Now, keep in mind, I'm not trying to lose weight. That's not my goal. My goal is to feel good every day. And when I focus on feeling good every day and honoring that and taking in the mind-body nutrition principles that I use with my clients and that system that I use, I have taught myself how to get to my set point without being so crazy over food. I don't fear food anymore. I don't restrict myself from food. I don't crave sugar. I never crave sugar. I barely eat sugar. And not because I'm trying to restrict myself. There's a difference. It's because I don't need it or want it. But if I do want it, I eat it. And I eat it in mindfulness, and I actually eat it without having to binge eat it. I'll eat what I want, and if I don't want the whole thing, I can push it aside. So not only did I get myself to a point where hormonally I am in an amazing place, my skin is better, my hair is slowly getting better, because I was losing chunks of hair. I screwed up my hair so bad from restriction, and my skin, and that is so much better for me. My hair is slowly coming along, but my skin is night and day. The inflammation in my body, so even when I was dieting and at my leanest, I was so inflamed that I never looked lean enough because the inflammation was so bad. I no longer have that inflammation, and as a matter of fact, if I do start to feel it, it's because that I've been straying off, but I now know how to pull myself back. So if I get off course, I know how to course correct. I pull in, I center myself, I ground myself. But also when it comes to what I want from life, so people, when they think about me not competing anymore, I take that energy because I'm a very goal-orientated person. I like to work hard. I like to have more for myself, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes when you put yourself out there, especially as a personal brand, people can feel uncomfortable with it because they feel uncomfortable with themselves. So I'm not like that. I like to push my boundaries, but I now know how far to push myself before I fall off the edge, and that's the difference. So now I'm focusing on a business that means a lot to me, and the universe is giving me things. Not fast, because I firmly also believe I was the most impatient person in the world. I needed everything right now. I've learned patience, and I have mentors in business that I work with who have shown me how important patience is. Not just, I've learned patience with my body, and I started now implementing that into everything in my life. And that patience has created more compassion, which has helped in my coaching, but also more compassion to just everything in life. It has helped me honor what I need for myself, and I let go of things that aren't good for me, even as hard as it is. I can't even speak. As hard as it is sometimes. So I went from barely surviving to thriving. I'm getting what I need slowly every day, and not needing to rush things, not needing things to happen right away. I walk down the street and I notice a difference on how people react to me. Strangers will smile at me. People come up and ask me questions, directions, whatever. I've created a different energy, and that to me, I'm just so thankful for and grateful for every day. And that's another thing I do, is show gratitude every day to my life. It is not perfect. I'm not driving around in a Bentley. Actually, I have a Hyundai with a cracked windshield, which I hope to upgrade one day. But I am the universe is sending me things all the time. I've just created some corporate health gigs. I'm creating a brand that's getting more leverage. I feel like I'm in my passion because I want to help so many women, and the women that I've helped are helping now, and in the past are creating new things for themselves. So it's a snowball effect. So if you want to know what mind body nutrition is, you're looking at it. You're looking at somebody that was in a really bad place. And when I say that, oh man, like I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that without, anyway. And now I'm in a place where every day I'm up and I'm excited for life. I'm excited for what the day is going to bring me. I'm happy to share that with others. I want to see others thrive. I have no ill will or jealousy or envy for anybody's life because I feel good in mine. As a matter of fact, if somebody's out there doing amazing and thriving and helping people become better, then I am all for it. But I will stand up to what I think is right as well, to those who maybe aren't helping people as much as they should. So that's basically it, guys. I, just want to kind of maybe add a little takeaway, is that all that self-destructive behavior, because that's what it was, even though we think by putting ourselves on a diet and punishing ourselves with like forcing food down our throat that we don't want to eat, forcing ourselves to diet and restrict, and forcing ourselves to work out when our bodies are telling us that we shouldn't be, sitting in our pity and self-loathing and feeling sorry for ourselves, it all comes from a place of just really, really bad self-worth. And as women, I firmly believe that we can have what we desire, even though we've been told for centuries that we are not supposed to have desires. We do, and I think it's okay to tap into that. As a matter of fact, it's amazing to tap into that. And I don't expect anyone, if you have families, if you have careers, you shouldn't treat yourself better than everyone else. You should treat yourself as good as you treat everything and everybody else in your life. I think when we start focusing on, we don't want to be selfish, but at the same time, you need to love yourself and care for yourself and respect yourself as much as you do your kids, your husband, your family, your friends, your boss, whatever it might be. That love you show for other people, you should be showing yourself as well. You should be putting yourself at, if not at the top of the list, you're the top 5. You know what I mean? You need to be really focusing on caring for yourself on the same level. And then eventually you'll know why you need to start stepping your self-care and self-love up a little higher, because when you're thriving, you help others thrive. When you're happy, that love in a place, because I firmly believe the best kind of love comes from a true place of happiness. So when you're at your happiest, the love you give others is amazing. Because if you're snapping at people, if you're moody all the time, if you don't have the energy to do anything, you don't know it at the time, but that is what you're putting out towards your family, your friends, your job, your career, and the world, the energy, the universe is going to give you that same energy back, which puts you in a bigger rut. So you need to get yourself out of it. And that's why I have these master classes. This is why I focus on mindset. Yes, I have a strong background in exercise, and I have a strong background in nutrition. I have a strong background in competing. I have a strong background in now in mindset coaching. They all come together because that's holistic health. If you think that health is just about what you eat and how much you work out, then you're so missing the point of true health and vitality and wealth. And you can have anything you want. If you want to eventually have a house on the beach, you can have that. You just need to do something about it. And that doesn't mean that you need to sacrifice your morals or your integrity to do it. You just need to take action, and that starts from within. We can have the body we want and feel amazing at the same time without restricting foods we love. Firm believer of it because I live by it. Now, am I shredded? Am I rocking like a 8-pack like I used to? No, but I don't need to. I don't look in the mirror anymore and think, oh my God, I don't like what I see. I love what I see because I'm fit and strong at 48, and I'm going to be fit and strong when I'm 80. While others are sitting in a rocking chair drinking Metamucil from a straw. So that's how I look at it, is how I care for myself now. Because I think about how I cared for myself when I started competing and really restricting, brought me to that place where I fell on my face. So think of it, that's over the course of 12 years. So if I'm 48 now and I'm treating myself terribly and 12 years goes by the time I'm 60, when my body isn't as strong as it was when I was younger, am I going to recover the way I want to recover? Probably not fully, if not really creating some terrible illness that I can't get myself out of. I don't want that for myself. I certainly don't want my family to have to go through that with me, or people that love me. That's not right. So I just want you to really think, when you are thinking about your health, are you basing it on how you look or how you feel? And when I set goals with my clients, it's very different than what most fitness professionals do, because I want you to walk away and be like, yeah, like I deserve this. My body, my life, everything, I deserve this. I deserve this. So I hope you now kind of an idea why I've transitioned and why it means so much to me, and why I want to help other women do the same, and why I want to help as many women as I possibly can become a better version of themselves. If you have any questions at all about all of this stuff and want to learn more, just message me and I'm more than happy to talk to you about it.